fashion, music, wellness.
And don't forget sex.
Mostly sex.
If it's trending, they'll be talking about it. Trend Radio is right here.
And right now, I'm Anthony Vincent.
And I'm Elise.
And we always have something great to say.
Because it's us. So stay tuned.
You'll be glad you did.
Go for it, Anthony.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Elise and Anthony Vincent with Al at the controls.
I'm not really here.
And what a great show we have today. Oh, so many interesting things. We're going to talk about
Look at this.
people
Is that amazing?
who are happier having sex once a week than earning an extra $50,000. Can you believe that?
I can.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have the extra 50 grand.
You just haven't had great sex then.
Well, sometimes you feel sad after sex, even if it's great sex. And then other times you're so happy.
I guess you just don't get glad, huh?
I love getting glad. It's been so long since I've been happy.
Well, just in case anybody is wondering, today is April Fool's Day.
Oh.
And I just have to say, I have to start off the show with, I got an email from a girl named Michelle. Okay? And do you know what she is doing to her guy today?
What is she doing?
I think this is so funny. I can't wait to find out what actually happens. She told me that she's polishing her guy's soap with clear nail polish so it doesn't suds up. I think that's so funny. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
That's so childish.
You know what one of her friends did?
What?
Her friend, or is going to do, she did it actually last night. So when he wakes up this morning and goes into his sock drawer and his underwear drawer, everything, because he has very monotone colors, everything is all in crazy colors and patterns.
She went and bought all new
She
underwear
bought
and
all
socks?
new stuff for him in all multicolored, crazy patterned stuff and took all his other stuff away. I think that
Wow.
was funny.
Wow.
Flowery stuff and bright colored boxers and took away his black and his solid colors.
Poor guy. Sounds like it's going to be a fantasy for him.
Yeah, I think that's hysterical.
Yeah. Do you like my shirt? What's it say, Elise?
What?
My shirt.
I don't like your shirt.
I love my shirt. It's the Stockton Street Brawlers. I used to be one hell of a brawler in my
I don't
younger
believe
day.
you.
But since I turned 40, my brawls are a little more saggy.
Actually, I have to tell you something. I do like your shirt.
That's right. What's it say?
It says Stockton Street Brawlers.
That's right.
Yeah, no,
Don't
I do like
mess
it.
with me.
I do like it a lot, and that's the reason why I told you this morning that I liked it. But I have to just tell you, it looks really good on you, too.
Hey, everything looks good on me.
Ha ha, April Fools!
So, you know anything about sexual fantasies?
I do.
Oh.
Of course. Who
well.
doesn't know anything about a sexual fantasy?
Oh.
Everybody knows a little something about everything, especially when it comes to something sexual.
Yeah.
So, especially because our listeners listen to us.
Yes, they
and
do.
we talk about what? Sex a lot.
Sex.
Yeah. Romance.
Romance. Love.
Lust.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes.
But mostly sex.
Of course. Yes, I do know a little bit of something about sexual fantasies, but why? What do you know?
Well, not much.
April Fools. Yeah,
Well, there's sometimes...
Hey, every time you lie today, I'm going to say April Fools. How's that?
Alrighty, that sounds good.
Go on.
There's sometimes a way to distinguish between healthy fantasies and sometimes traumatization.
Well, what happens, I think, with sexual fantasy is like a form of, playtime, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is when you start acting out a sexual fantasies start when we're very young. They
Really?
start, yes, because, your mind is building as you grow. And as you come into your teen years, there's that jolt of testosterone and estrogen that happens, depending on if you're male or female. And then, as you grow and you start noticing different things, things start to stay in your head. And then your sexual fantasies start to form as you're having experiences in life. So as you go along and you meet different people and you eventually meet the right person that you can trust, that you can act out a fantasy with, a lot comes up from that. So you can actually go into a sexual fantasy, and although you're meaning for it to be fun and exciting and sexual and as a form of play, it actually can traumatize you as you're going through it, because it's everything starts where?
In the brain, between the ears.
Between the ears. So all of a
Brain, my
sudden,
second favorite organ.
all of a sudden, you know what your first is.
Yes.
Okay. So but everybody else knows too. It's your heart. Your big mushy heart. But so what happens as you're acting it out, it could backfire for you because it becomes very emotional.
It absolutely
And
does.
that's where the traumatization comes in.
That's right. And, and unlike other animals, human beings have sex for lots of reasons other than procreation.
Yes.
People say,
One of them meaning,
have fun.
because it feels good,
That's right.
and they want to.
And they seek their sexual experiences for their own sakes, such as consensual, novel, stimulating play without much concern about the
Exactly.
consequences.
Exactly. And then when you start bringing something in that you've had in your head for quite some time, you don't know why you have it in your mind. And then all of a sudden there it is, and you're acting it out. It can actually be, detrimental
Yeah.
and, create a low as opposed to a high.
That's right. And so sex for fun and for free, is a sexual fantasy that evokes sexual desire by simply letting our imagination run wild. But how do you distinguish between which fantasies deepen the sexual expression with healthy play and which ones prey on others by repeating some old traumas?
Well, see, that's where it comes about. You don't actually know what's going to happen until you start doing it.
That's right.
And so as it's happening is when you start to feel the discomfort. And then you don't know what to do because, if you're just playing with somebody, you're playing and you don't really know the person. And so you tend to continue to go through it. And before you know it, you're an emotional wreck. And this person is like, what is going on here?
That's right. And, healthy sexuality, it's spontaneous, not robotic.
Exactly.
It grabs us on emotion, psychological and physiological levels all at the same time.
Exactly. And especially female.
Yeah.
Actually run on emotion. Sexual everything is emotional for women.
That's right.
Men, some are, and some actually not so much. And so for men, I would say, it could happen. It can be traumatizing, of course, but I think it's more of a female issue. I mean, it could happen, though. Men can be very emotional.
Oh, you some
Yeah.
wussies.
Yeah. Hey, I've seen you cry.
Oh, yeah, but that's only at the movies. When the dog dies.
You're right.
You said the brain was still considered the largest sex organ in the body, and that's for both genders.
Absolutely.
And male sexual arousal depends heavily on what's seen, where females have a more complex arousal pattern because they seek pleasure rather than simple orgasm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you see, and they're also emotional.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where the pleasure is coming in. It feeds their emotion.
Right. Even though all women tend to agree that the orgasm brings more overall sexual satisfaction.
Absolutely. But I've always said that it's not necessarily the destination. It's the journey.
It's the journey.
Exactly.
And the journey for both parties requires low stress and feeling rested and, believe it or not, well fed.
Yeah, I was about to say,
Before
you
erotic
need
play.
to make sure that you eat something because you do burn a lot and you can't be thinking about something else. Your body gets hungry.
It does.
And so your brain needs to be fed.
But you don't want to eat too much. You want
Well,
to
a
feed
nice
your
light
brain,
meal.
not too much in your belly.
A nice light meal. You don't want to be like eating a pasta dish and then, you're about to pass out when she's, coming over to you.
Eroticism can be defined as the deliberate seeking of pleasure for sexual enjoyment. Now, our brains imagine endless sexual fantasies, from simple flirtation to control dynamics, forcible sex.
Absolutely.
50 Shades of Grey.
Absolutely. That's what I was saying, though. It starts at a very young age. Your mind is filled with all of these different things. Exactly. Simple flirtation. When you're 12 years old and you see, I remember this perfectly. You see this boy that you think you would have, and you have this attraction to, and as a young girl, and you kind of, smile and giggle, and, he kind of smiles at you, and before you know it, you're going to the 8th grade dance,
Oh, that happened to me.
Exactly. Well, it happens to all of us. And so that starts off, and even earlier than that, as early as 7 years old. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not necessarily known as sexual, but it starts off in your brain.
That's right. There was a show, it had to be 10 years ago. I was practically a kid. And
You're still a kid, just in a big man's body.
it was about a man who did the 50 Shades of Grey thing. And it started off with his babysitter when he was 7 years old.
I'm telling you, I know. Yeah, exactly.
She would bend him over the sink and spank him.
Oh.
And she was a beautiful, sexy little babysitter.
Okay. And so that started off.
That started his 50 Shades of Grey thing.
See that? Okay. It could be absolutely anything from, bath, having a bath. And that's at a very young age, that's when that starts.
That's right.
So that's where, it starts smoldering in your brain. And then little things that you see as you get older, as you grow, kind of, trickle into your mind. And before you know it, you're 23 and
tying your boyfriend up.
Or having your girl bend over and the spanking starts on either partner. Do you see? And then that goes, it escalates from there.
That's right. And healthy, enjoyable, consensual sex really eludes us if our lustful inclinations have been interrupted by trauma. And when the trauma induces, low self-esteem and mixes with high sexual arousal.
So there's a difference between the babysitter, the pretty young babysitter, bending you over and spanking you, and
trauma.
Actual physical abuse from your parents or a babysitter. Or somebody, but actual abuse.
Right.
So
and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the trauma.
Exactly.
Unwanted trauma.
Versus something else.
Consensual.
Exactly. And so there's the difference in that. The same scenario could happen when you're 23. You're acting out a fantasy. This beautiful woman is bending you over the sink, and the guy all of a sudden is having a breakdown because he was severely abused as a child.
That's right. That's a
dangerous
mixture.
That's where the brain reacts, and then the emotions flood.
All right, and and that can really lead to self-destructive behaviors.
Absolutely,
it really can.
Absolutely, because you're feeling so down on yourself, and you don't know exactly what's happening.
Our sexual fantasies let us travel that erotic universe without internal or societal restrictions, and sexual fantasizing. It's really natural and fun.
And healthy.
Yeah, it's a mental
Very
power.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Very healthy, yes. It takes you to a place that you just wouldn't be able to go on a normal basis.
Right. It expands our self-image.
Of course it does. And that's why it can be so good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have other things that could happen in between.
That's right.
It's a matter of, just also knowing yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. It kind of gives us license to buck the social norms.
Sure.
Of what people think of sex, and we can use it effectively to spice up our intimate relationships.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's where the trust comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You trust the person that you're with, and then you feel free and you can do anything. You have to know that.
You can do anything together.
Exactly. That's what I was meaning. But you get to a point where, I've heard stories, crazy stories, and I've seen movies where a girl and a guy are having fun and handcuffs come out, and before you know it, she's handcuffed him to the bed, stolen his wallet, and left him in the hotel room.
Yeah, that's happened to me. It happens every
April
once in a while.
Fool's Day. So that's where, you have to be careful. You have to be able to do something like that with somebody that you can completely trust so that they're not going to steal your wallet. And worse than that, they're not going to leave you somewhere strange
That's right.
by yourself tied up, waiting for, the cleaning woman to come in and find you.
You have to kind of co-create fantasies with your lover.
Absolutely.
And
That's where the talking stage comes in, though.
having explicit conversations.
Have conversations. You don't even have to have them like that in the bedroom. You can be having coffee
Yeah.
and have a conversation about, what your plans are, what
That's-
you'd like to do.
That's the beginning of foreplay right there.
Exactly, because it happens between the ears.
That's right.
It's in your brain,
That's right.
as we always say. So you have these intense, lovely, fabulous sexual conversations, and you don't even do anything about it right away.
That's right.
You keep having these conversations, and you build. What is it we build?
Attraction.
You build the attraction. You build the attraction and
Keep it high.
keep it high. You
That's
keep
right.
talking about it, looking
It's like
at
an
each
ice cream
other.
cone. Pile it high.
Exactly. High and tight.
That's right.
So that's what happens. Did I lose you?
I couldn't swallow. And sometimes that could be a bitch.
Depends on who you are and what you're doing.
What I started to say before I choked was this, the simple act of talking and daring to reveal sexual desires really can ignite excitation, laughter, curiosity, and emotional nakedness.
Now,
That's
being
intoxicating.
emotionally naked in front of your partner,
Didn't we use that as one of our
we did not. We used psychological naked.
nakedness?
No. Nudity. You were
okay.
right. Psychological nudity. But being emotionally naked and stripped of everything is really, honestly, depending on who you are, very sexy.
Oh, that's intoxicating.
Very intoxicating. Exactly. And so that's something that it deepens your relationship. It deepens the emotional tie that you have with that person. That you can feel that way and do the things that you're going to do together. It opens up a whole new area for you.
Yeah, it really does. A couple, if they have like really bent sexual fantasies, it can shatter or solidify the relationship.
Well, that's the thing. It can actually bring people together or tear them apart.
That's right.
Because if they don't understand, if one wants to do something or try something and brings it, like for instance, Sex in the City. Carrie was, she was dating, I don't know, the mayor. And he's in the shower and he calls her into the shower and he says, "Come here." And she's like, "What?" And he said it differently, but he wanted to urinate on her.
Ooh.
And yeah, golden shower. And
How do you know about that?
we talked about it.
Oh, we
I
did,
learned it
that's
here.
right.
So, if you look
knew
up.
I heard it somewhere.
Yeah. We've had a whole conversation about this. So anyway, she was horrified and she just looked at him and the shower is running on him and he's standing there and the shower curtain's open and she just looks at him and she closes the shower curtain and walks out of the room, and that was not her thing. She didn't see him again. The thing is that was a make or break time period for them. If she would have gotten into the shower, that would have led to a whole nother level.
A whole nother level?
Exactly.
Ow.
So that would have gone, in that direction. But it shattered. It ended.
So that seems to me like sexual trauma. And
She was like confused. She was like, ew. And that was not happening. I'm not doing that. And you're gross.
That's because they didn't have explicit conversation.
They didn't discuss it
about
before.
Yes.
And having coffee.
And-
they had coffee plenty of times.
And that's right. What do we always say? Communication.
Communication.
And if, that would cause you trauma or you're uncomfortable, use a safe word like apple pie or tangerine or don't stop.
Don't stop can go either way. If that's your safe word, that's bad.
That I think I got that out of a movie.
Yeah.
So, we were talking about conversation, and when partners verbalize their beliefs about themselves or their partner, they can begin to heal and deconstructing like harmful self-concepts.
And the
through
reality
open dialogue.
is that once something happens, and again, it goes either way, but if it's in a positive direction, it could be magical. It could just extend and just make your relationship so fabulous, that you cannot wait, to do it again, to experience it again.
It invites.
What does it invite?
It invites good sexual chemistry.
Well, chemistry. It's all about the chemistry.
It is, absolutely.
You know that.
And when
Not biology, but chemistry.
chemistry, right. And when sexual fantasies are co-constructed with your partner, they can lead you anywhere
Absolutely.
an array of sexual possibilities, and
Yeah.
the novelty of letting your imagination wander with a safe partner can make sex explosive
Beyond explosive.
and
Absolutely.
magical.
You're using my word.
I knew I heard that somewhere before.
That was great.
And, I was reading this article and I couldn't believe it that having sex once a week makes people happier than earning an extra $50,000.
I can understand that.
Now, I wonder if the fantasies are included in that once a week
I
sex.
don't know, but I'm sure it is. Because, that's just the thing. People are so busy. Men, women, couples, girl, boy, whatever they are, whatever you choose to do, you're busy. Everybody, there's just two incomes in most households.
And sometimes if you have children, there's only one.
Exactly. But a lot of times when you have children, your child is in daycare these days and you're still working because for the most part, because that's the reality. I mean, that's the economy. That's the way things are. So when people have a relationship, a good relationship, part of that relationship is also a sexual relationship.
That's right. And consensual sex makes people happy.
And the thing is that you can have sex once a month and whatever, or you can make sure that you have a nice amount of time with each other once a week, and then a moment here and there so that you can satisfy the brain, because that's what's really important.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that if you don't have that time together, that cuddling time, that holding time, that intense raw pleasure, that makes some people very unhappy.
That's right. And there was
And it's not worth the money, believe me, because what can you do with money? You can buy things, you can pay for things. Yeah, you can make sure you have things. Money is very important, I get it. But the reality is that you can't buy your happiness. That's the truth. We've learned that. And you certainly can't buy your health. And healthy people are happy people. And that's the truth. I've learned that.
Well, in a previous study, they found, they put a number on happiness. And they found that people, like we were talking about, would rather have sex once a week instead of once a month, like you mentioned, in lieu of earning an extra $50,000 a year. But what should be noted is that how happy sex makes a person apparently depend a lot on whether that sex is followed by cuddling or not. You just mentioned the cuddling. So there's a new study that seeks answers to the questions of why sex boosts happiness.
Okay.
Okay, and this was published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin. And the study is actually made up of several separate experiments. And the first looked at over 300 Americans in romantic relationships, and another looked at 100 couples from the San Francisco area, which is a whole different planet.
Yes, it is.
And, the people involved in the study were asked about their sexual frequencies, their life satisfaction, and how often they touched, cuddled, or exchanged affectionate touches.
That is so important.
Oh,
what you
yeah.
just said right there. Touching, cuddling, just exchanging a sweet little gesture of love, just a touch.
And that goes back to what we said earlier. There was a study done a couple of years ago that foreplay starts from the moment you wake up.
It starts between the ears, and guess what? Cuddling matters. It does. It just does. Touching and cuddling and holding each other, it matters.
What the researchers found was that while sexual frequency certainly makes people feel good, it's all the affectionate touches that really improve somebody's happiness.
Ah, okay.
So
So
just
what I
like
just said.
cuddling matters.
It matters.
You know these things.
I do.
Overall, researchers found that an increase in sex does correlate with experiencing more positive emotions. Wow, what's so funny about that?
Nothing. I'm just laughing at you because you're just so intense.
Hey, more sex leads to more happiness.
I agree.
I just want to be happy.
Wait. If the sex is good.
What do they say? Any sex is good.
Not if you're a girl.
Oh,
Not women. Not any sex is good.
well.
Yeah, we're not like guys.
Well, sex promotes affection between two people.
Sometimes. It depends on the couple. It depends on what you're looking for. We've had this conversation before, too. Some people are just in the sex for the sex. It has nothing to do with even knowing the person.
Well, we're talking about...
We're talking about this,
That's
I know.
hooking up. We're talking about relationships.
I know. And I think that if the sex is good, I think it's worth everything.
Right. So trading an extra $50,000 a year may really only be worth it if the once a week sex you're having is good.
Did I just say that?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think I just said that.
And then you follow by lots of kissing and lots of cuddling.
Affection is, yep, exactly. I think I just said it. Uh-huh.
Well, at least nobody's asking you to choose.
Thank you.
If you're just joining us now, you're listening to Elise and Anthony Vincent on Trend Radio, where we talk about romance, love, lust, and sex.
Mostly sex. And guess what? If you email us right now at trendradio920@gmail.com, I will send you a gift certificate to Anthony Vincent Salon for $50, and you can use it to have your hair done, your makeup done, your nails, whatever it is that you'd like to do to feel beautiful for your guy or girl.
Or both.
Exactly.
We are living in that kind of world today.
We sure do.
So, conversely, there are reasons that you feel sad after sex.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
It brings up, sex sometimes brings up emotion, a lot of emotion, and early trauma that happens in your
I
life.
can't imagine this because...
Because you're a guy.
Yeah, because I'm always happy. So, and whether we want to admit it or not, like you said, many of us had felt it, not me, the unexplainable sadness after sex.
Sometimes that happens, yes.
And, if you...
When you're sexually with somebody that you love, especially, it's sometimes the emotion of whatever's happening inside you, the orgasm, just, that day in particular, the way you're feeling, it can just bring up a lot of, quote unquote stuff.
That's right. And that sadness is more common than you think, even if the sex is awesome.
Especially if the sex is awesome. That's really where it goes, because your brain, the serotonin and the oxytocin, everything that's happening in your brain and the orgasm and all of this, it happens to just erupt at the same time as this emotional tidal wave that you have going on. And then all of a sudden you spiral down and you are emotionally sad. Even though you're fulfilled and you're sexually fulfilled, you spiral into this emotional sadness. And that happens sometimes. And the crying begins and the guy's like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah, we don't understand that. But, according to a study published by the Journal of Sexual Medicine, over 46% of women reported experiencing feelings of anxiety, agitation, melancholy, or sadness after sex at some point in their lifetime. And you think, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
This gal, Laura House, she's an author and a dating and relationship expert. And, she kind of gives us the scoop on really what these feelings are all about.
Well, do share.
Well, number one, you're not ready.
For what?
A huge reason why young women experience negative negative emotions after sex is that
they're not ready to have it, to
right.
experience all of that. Yes,
they're having sex and they don't really want to, or they're not emotionally or physically
That
ready.
is peer pressure, though. That starts with that.
Yeah, they want to grow up too fast. They say
And
it
that
way.
also starts with, their friends are doing it, so they need to do it. I remember this, actually. In high school. Oh my God. Some of my friends lost their virginity at 14. There is absolutely positively no reason for something like that.
No.
There really isn't. 14 years old, you are just not ready. And that's where, fear comes in and you're scared. And, a lot of times, unfortunately, because you're so young, and even though you learn this in school, you're not protecting yourself, and that's where babies happen.
Yep.
Babies having babies, there's a show like that.
Babies having babies.
And so, you're not
Low
ready.
self-esteem. Fear, guilt.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think peer pressure also.
Yeah. Emotional distance, can also create these feelings. And I think that's what you're talking about. You're just doing it for peer pressure. So
Because they're so young, they don't know what is even going on. They really don't.
That's right.
They think they do because, they have their periods, but they don't know what's going on.
Well, that's because...
And boys shouldn't be doing it at
12 years old and all the hormones pumped up in the food.
Are you kidding?
These 14-year-olds are looking like they're 20.
Some of these girls are getting their periods at 10.
Well...
and that's a baby. Why should a fifth grader, think about this for a minute. A fifth grader, that's crazy. It is, but that is true.
But feeling emotional after sex really can happen to women at any age.
Yes, it can.
And...
Well, what about you're in a bar with a group of girls and there's, guys there, it's sports night and I don't know, you kind of connect with somebody, you're really drunk, you go back to his place.
And you want to play handball?
And you're just looking around, stop it, haha. You hook up with him and then afterwards you feel like crap. You are no longer drunk. You are no longer understanding what the hell happened tonight. You made an error and you're freaking out. You know what? That's just not for you.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with non-committal sex, but some women aren't able to handle it as well as others.
No. Nope.
And biology may be to blame.
And some men really can't handle it either. You know what? I said that. I know. You're kind of looking at me. You're both kind of looking at me like, no, Elise. It's the girls this time. I probably say you're right.
Well, there is a study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine by Dr. Robert Schweitzer. And he said that this post-sex sadness has a name, and it's referred to as PCD, postcoital dysphoria. Postcoital dysphoria.
Yes. That sounded like something you'd hear on The Big Bang Theory. Sheldon would say this.
The one that estimates the odds of making contact with extraterrestrials by calculating the product of an increasingly restrictive series of fractional values, such as those stars with planets, and those planets likely to develop life. N equals R times FP times NE times FL times FI times FC times L.
Postcoital dysphoria.
That's right.
Okay.
And that's something that can be experienced by both men and women. So, you see, when you have sex, tons of hormones, particularly dopamine, which you said just a few minutes ago, and prolactin, which you did not mention.
Yeah, I don't know everything, okay?
I thought you did.
No.
Okay. Well, it sure seems that way.
I
Because I think you're just the brightest woman.
see,
that
it's
I've-
April Fool's Day. He's just trying to pump up right now. Keep going. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, the dopamine and prolactin, they're released and they allow you to be vulnerable and tap into your true emotions.
And that's what I was saying before. And that's why sometimes you cry.
Oh, yeah,
Because
that's right.
when you're feeling so emotional and it's like it's extreme, it's overwhelming, and you just can't help it and you don't know what to do. And so that's your reaction. Tears.
Yeah. And then a lot of cuddling after that, but that's good.
Well, what happens is you're crying, this little girl's crying, freaking out, tearful, and her big guy is like, "Oh, what's going on?
No, just come over here and
Wait,
put that-
wait. I don't know what's happening." And then before you know it, he's wrapping his arms around her, and
That's right. You
yeah,
just lean on my big shoulders there.
yeah,
baby.
exactly.
After reaching an orgasm, a woman's dopamine level drops while her prolactin level rises.
So what does prolactin do?
Prolactin works to counter dopamine and shut down sexual desires, and surges of it can continue to be released up to 2 weeks after orgasming.
So wait a second. That means she might not want to have sex for up to 2 weeks afterwards because of the prolactin?
No, she might feel bad.
Oh.
According to
But the prolactin actually shuts down the dopamine.
yes,
And which shuts down sexual desire. Does
Yes.
everybody have prolactin?
I'm not forever.
No. But
That's why after orgasm, some may just want to cuddle, relax, and sleep. You don't have an orgasm, and then you want 6 more after that.
I guess it depends on who you are.
I wouldn't know.
I don't know. I guess it depends on who you are. Everybody is different, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so some are multi-orgasmic, men and women, and I guess they have very high levels of dopamine. But after those orgasms, that prolactin can really work to shut it down. And so much prolactin can even make some women cry.
Interesting.
So the worst is if you're not connected to your partner.
Oh, yeah. But you see, that's where if there's no connection, that's usually, a relationship that's coming to an end, a relationship that has hard times,
Or never
or
was.
there's no relationship.
That's right.
Exactly.
when,
Just what you said.
when it comes to sex, connect emotionally before you connect physically.
Well, that's where the talking comes in, like we were talking about. There's nothing wrong with having dinner first, having coffee, having tea, going to a movie. I drink a lot of coffee. I think you know that. I'm like a Java junkie here. And thank God I have my new steel mug here that keeps it hot.
Yeah, it's a
Thank you,
it's a
Ida.
2-gallon mug. Of
It's
coffee.
really, it's like as big as my head, and it keeps my coffee hot for like 8 hours. Or if I want, I can put a cold drink in there and it'll stay cold for 24 hours. That freaking freaks me out. I
We'll do
love
that
it.
in August.
Yes. But anyway, for now, I'm happy to have my coffee. But it's important to talk and have a connection with the person that you're going to be with sexually. You want to be able to know that you're going to feel something because, we've always said this. It doesn't matter what the people look like. It doesn't matter what what the people are. If there's a connection and there's chemistry, that's it. There's chemistry. So you talk about it, and then it becomes even bigger than you even realize, because the brain is swelling with desire. And that's what happens. So if you don't have that first, then it's like nothing.
That's right. And some girls are better at shutting down or ignoring the emotional side of sex, and others aren't.
And I'm sure some men are very, very good at ignoring.
Oh, yeah, guys.
Guys ignore.
Yeah. And whether guy or girl, if you can really truly view sex as just fun, do it. If not, don't do it.
Well,
simple as that.
It is supposed to be fun and healthy and good and something that you enjoy. It should never be work.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you might think that only girls who are hooking up with random guys get sad after sex. This gal is sad during sex.
Well, because she's not connected. She obviously, she was doing this because she felt she had to, not because she wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's just sad in itself.
Yeah. But, even girls in relationship can experience sadness after sex. This may sound crazy coming from me, but if you really know me, you know that it's not. And that I have always felt that I never had a one-night stand, ever. I always felt as though I really needed to know somebody, even if it's for a week or two, or
I never did either.
Yeah, I just was uncomfortable
because you don't know who the person is.
I don't know who they are,
and that is something very intimate and very, very personal. That's the thing. It's personal, and I don't know. I know people who do it. I don't understand it either.
Yeah. I've always protected myself from feelings of discomfort by having sex only with somebody that I'm comfortable with, and my generation, that was not okay. You met somebody, boom,
you got married.
You did it. Or no, I'm not that generation. You met somebody, you had sex with them. And that's real.
You know what? That's so funny.
That
I was
was
thinking,
our parents' generations.
that was my parents. But yeah, that's right.
So
although my mother, she was really with it
before her time.
She was, yeah.
So a lot of girls, never hook up the first time that they hang out. Even if it's just a fling. For me, I always had to make sure that I got to know the individual first. And, it also makes me feel more comfortable during the experience and better afterwards. But this isn't the case for everyone. But
no,
you have to know yourself and
exactly
and your limits.
Exactly.
So you never had a one-night stand?
No.
Wow. Yeah, either have I.
Any second, it's like April Fools.
No, I actually have a friend that I was friends with for almost 2 years before we did anything, because I liked her so much and loved her so much. I didn't want to ruin it.
And you knew you.
Yeah. But anyway, no matter the case, sex is physical, psychological, and emotional connection with somebody. But what happens in the heat of the moment, may not be so great later on.
Sometimes that happens, yeah. Sometimes that happens. But you know what? You get through that too.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So getting kind of off the sex subject a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know.
You have something else on your mind?
Spinach omelets.
Oh, yum.
Yeah,
Okay.
talk about sex, I get hungry.
I love spinach omelets.
Yeah,
Anytime
know.
I ever have an omelet, there's always
spinach.
There's always spinach in it, yes.
And
And also, I have to say, portobello mushrooms too.
My favorite.
Yeah.
Portobello mushrooms taste like steak.
I agree.
Yeah, they really
It's
do.
got this this meaty deliciousness. And so, yeah, it's so good.
A lot of antioxidants there. And they're called lutein. And that
Yeah.
lutein is found in leafy greens, yellow, and orange fruit, vegetables,
Yes. Peppers. You know how I'm always eating the orange
Yes.
peppers.
and egg
There's a reason.
yolks.
There's a reason for that.
That's right. And, we've known for a while that, people who eat more lutein have a lower risk of eye problems like cataracts.
Yes, and it's
Although
also
you're-
good for cancer prevention.
That's right. An age-related molecular, did I say it? Macular degeneration.
Yes.
But, there's a new discovery about lutein.
Yes, it also, I believe it, aside from supporting your body health, it supports your brain as well.
That's right. In addition, it helps your eyes, especially for older people like...
Not me. But yeah, no, it's important as you go along. And you're only 40.
That's right.
For how many
so
years
I got
now?
a ways to go.
I just love this guy.
The
He's
old-
he's going to just shoot me one of these days, though.
Never happened.
Okay, good.
Older people...
Orange doesn't look good on you.
No, it does not. I'm more of a black suit, red tie kind of guy.
Yeah, and then you're not going to be rare. Yeah, okay, whatever. Go on.
So anyway, older people who've scored best on cognitive performances tests, they had the highest brain concentrations of lutein,
Oh, wow. See? I told you, it's good for your brain.
That's right. And lutein isn't the only thing making you smart. This research existing the optimal dose of lutein is 6 to 10 milligrams a day.
Wow.
So start with an egg and a serving of spinach. Stir fry in olive oil and you're good to go.
Yeah, that is pretty good. But add the mushrooms. I'm telling you, it's good. I think, anyway.
I agree.
Yeah, I do that all the time, though. You know that. Sometimes you can even, listen to this, you can put the little omelet that you just made in an orange pepper and leave the house in half the pepper and put the eggs right there, and then you could eat it on the way as you're driving because I'm always running late. So that's what I do. And you could hold it in the pepper, and so this way it doesn't get all messy.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you have your breakfast and you pull your Stockton Street brawler out of the closet. And because you have 137 shirts, they're all stuffed together, wrinkled. What do you do when you don't have time to iron before you leave the house?
Spritz with water.
That's right. What you do is you grab a bath towel or dish towel, washcloth, soak it in water, squeeze it, and you toss it in the dryer with your wrinkled item for about 10 minutes.
Okay, so I have to just tell you, that is really a fantastic thing. It's very simple, and yeah, that only takes 10 minutes.
That's right.
But you see, I don't even have that kind of time. So I typically, if I'm wrinkled, because I have 4 million only black shirts, and they're all kind of squeezed together in my closet, and so that happens to me a lot. So I seriously put the shirt on and spritz myself with a water bottle. And I literally take my hands, brush it down, and the wrinkles come right out. That's how I iron.
Right, but you're having hot flashes, so you can spray yourself with
I'm
water.
not, but you're not getting wet. It dries right away.
No, not for me. I prefer
You have the extra 10 minutes,
wet
though.
towel
See-
in the dryer. It turns into steam.
Okay.
And that moisture combined with the tumbling
And-
pulls out the wrinkles and also the static electricity.
Okay, so, and here's another thing. Another thing that you can do if you're on the quick run and you only have 2 minutes and not 10. You spritz yourself and you take your blow dryer and you just blow yourself, okay, for 2 minutes.
Blow dryer? No.
Yeah, your hot blow dryer. I'm telling you, we don't have time. We don't have time. We don't have an extra 10 minutes. But for you just live right down the street from where you work. I live an hour away. And so I don't have that extra time like you do.
All you need to do is get up 10 minutes earlier.
I don't want to
You
spend.
lazy bum.
Oh my God. This lazy bum.
God.
This guy calls
She
this
just
lazy bum.
sleeps all day.
Okay. This guy calls this lazy bum for every little thing. Hey, could you send me this phone number? I need to do this. Could you do this for me? I need to do that. Could you do this? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. This lazy bum, huh? Who should go to? Who should go to?
Hey, if you need something done, get a busy person to do it.
So a busy person can't be lazy. Just saying.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever.
Okay. So, you know,
You know.
in our business, we go out to lunch a lot,
Yes.
you know, with people.
Yes.
And what's the etiquette on splitting the tab? You know, do we go to an even Steven? I had the pasta. You had
guess
the
it depends on
lobster,
who you're
I had
with.
the coffee. You had the dessert. This is a true story. I had I'd gone out to dinner
Mm-hmm.
with my girlfriend's at the time friends, and we went to, you know, it was a really nice place. It was a fancy place, and we basically ordered, and the tab came, and I thought, okay, we'd split it down the middle, and the woman, my girlfriend's friend, said, well, wait a minute, why are we splitting that down the middle? You had a coffee and a slice of pie, which was like, at the time, $5 difference. So we're talking about a $2.50 difference. And I was shocked.
Oh my God, that's really
shocked.
hard. You know,
Never went
anytime.
out to dinner with them again.
I don't blame you. Anytime I go out for dinner, my husband and I go out for dinner with, you know, a group of people, it's always difficult. And so I try to go out with people that will just split it no matter what. Sometimes I'm not very hungry. And you remember, honestly, in the past couple of years, if I would go out, I wouldn't even order anything because I was afraid to eat. On the chemo, I would get nauseous sometimes. So I wouldn't even order anything. I would just go. And I would have like a soda, you know, even though I didn't drink soda, but you know I did because I was nauseous all the time. We went out for dinner and it didn't matter. I was still a person sitting at the table and I still wanted to pay. And one couple said, oh my God, you didn't eat. Don't be ridiculous. Pretend you're not here. We'll split it the other way. And another couple said, but she's sitting here taking up a chair. What difference does it
Whoa.
make? And I was horrified. I paid anyway because that's just who I am. But we never went out with them again.
See that? Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like, one couple was like, but Elise, you didn't eat anything. I can buy your drink. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. And your husband drank water, you know? So it's like, it's part of the dinner. And I was like, no. You know, I was sitting there. That's true. You know, barely. But that was not the point. Yeah, this other couple, no. She's sitting there. It's part of the deal. It's part of, how do you do that? I don't know. They never were invited again.
I don't
But
blame you. I don't blame you.
I don't care. I didn't care, but the other people did. They were like, ew.
And you know, the whole point of splitting a restaurant check is to avoid discussing the money, like what just happened there.
Exactly.
You know, you should all be talking about what a good time you had that night.
Well, that's what it's about. And so I don't ever worry about anything like that. I don't care if I eat less and still pay more. It's not like that.
That's right.
You know, I don't do that.
And you know, if you're going out, you know, to an Italian restaurant and you're all having pasta, you know, that's a friend. One of them gets the giant lobster meal, not a friend. You know, but sometimes.
Well, if she wants the lobster, she can have the lobster. Just, you know what? Don't make a big deal about it. Throw a little bit of extra money in there and pay for your lobster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. Say, hey, you know what? I know that I was really craving this. I really wanted it. I did really well at work this week. I would like to have this, but you know what? I'm paying for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's your group. It's your choice. You know what? We love you too. And you know what? We'll just include it. It's not a big deal. Or, okay, whatever.
You know, I had a very close friend who drank a lot. And I don't mean, you know, a drunk, but we go out to dinner and I'm not a drinker, but he would have maybe 3 drinks, which
And he'd leave it on the bill, right?
and put it on the bill.
Yeah.
And you know, 3 drinks cost more than an entree.
Exactly. And I have to tell you, I never have 3 drinks, as you know. I have a limit now of 1. Sometimes if I'm not driving, definitely, and I'm like with a group, and it's going to be a long night, I'll have 2, but never. And never more than that. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll go to the bar. and I'll just get my drink and pay for it there so that it doesn't go on,
Doesn't
the,
go
bill,
on the bill.
so that it doesn't make anybody else uncomfortable,
That's right.
you
Well,
know?
what
But we
hap-
all do that, my
what-
friends and I.
What happened
Don't
was
talk. Stop.
people
I'm kidding. Just interrupting
didn't
him.
want to go out because if they were not drinkers.
Right. And then
Well-
he's drinking up a storm and putting it
That's
on
right.
the bill, and everybody's paying for his drinks.
Right. So when he realized that, he said, "Hey, listen, we'll split the bill minus the drinks, and I'll put in extra for the drinks."
Yeah.
And actually, what started happening is we started asking for separate checks,
Right. Right.
and that kind of worked out.
That's good.
You know,
I can understand that happening, though, because that's crazy,
that's right.
you know? You don't want to, I mean, that's not fair.
No, and some waiters and waitresses hate separate checks,
Oh, my God, so much.
but if you're generous with them, that they get over it.
Exactly. Of course they do, but it makes more work for them, too.
Yes, it does.
You know, and they're already working, and, you know, that industry, they're dealing with all different people, so it's difficult sometimes.
You know, we're in the hair business. Let's talk about some hair loss stuff.
Okay.
All righty. I
Hair loss
wanted
because you're sick, or hair loss because you're just losing your hair?
because you're just losing your hair.
Okay.
Alrighty, and there's plasma therapy for hair loss.
Really?
That's right.
What does that do?
Well, it's platelet-rich plasma, and it's used in combination with topical hair growth products like Rogaine.
So the plasma, where do you get that?
Well,
You go to a doctor?
You go to a doctor. Your
Okay.
blood is spun in a centrifuge.
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
that only the platelet-rich plasma's left.
And what do they do with it?
Well, that plasma, chock full of growth stimulants, is then injected and microneedled into your scalp.
Ah,
And what it does is it revives the lazy hair cells.
really?
Yeah. Now, it's not some miracle if you're completely bald, and have a
Not you, Al.
That's right.
Not yet.
But it's for people who have a decrease in the density and want to make their hair a little thicker.
I see.
Now, insurances won't pay for it. And
How much is it?
About $1,000 a treatment.
Wow. And how many treatments do you need? Because you
Well-
don't really know. It could be,
It could be 1, it could be 10,
yeah.
it could be 20.
Wow.
So anyway, it's
So
a,
if you have a spare $20,000, go for it.
it's a good option if you have the money.
The
and
funds,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the pain tolerance.
Well, they're microneedles.
I still think it would hurt.
Sometimes it hurts good.
Yeah, some injections do.
You've been listening to Trend Radio, where we talk about what's hot every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You want more? Go right to our website, 920thejersey.com. Click on demand and scroll directly to us.
And get the lowdown on getting down. Tune in to your bad boy inside you.
Or your bad girl.
Listen each week. We always have something sexy to say. Got questions? Email us now at trendradio920@gmail.com. You'll be glad you did.
And remember, your smile is your logo, your personality is your business card.
But how you make people feel, well, that becomes your trademark.
I'm Anthony Vincent.
And I'm Elise.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye for now.